Suppress your sensitivity. That's the common sentiment amongst the men who want you to reclaim your masculinity. But no matter if you're a man or a woman, there's a problem with this. If you find you are more sensitive than most people, that you can pick up on the exact moment when someone goes from interested to bored in a conversation, or a piece of art moves you so deeply to the point of tears, you have a superpower that not many people have. And if you can learn to harness that power in the way that I will describe in this video, it will become your greatest ally instead of your greatest enemy. I still remember exactly how I felt when I went to see Oppenheimer in IMAX during late July of last year. With the massive 59 by 79 foot screen covering my entire field of vision, I felt completely immersed in this wartime narrative directed by Christopher Nolan. And when I heard Can You Hear the Music by Ludwig Göransson play for the first time, paired with the visuals of Oppenheimer trying to discover the connection between theories in his mind, I couldn't help but start tearing up. To be honest, I've always felt deeply moved by pieces of visual storytelling. For some people, that intense emotional reaction comes from looking at pieces of art in a gallery or reading a gut-wrenching book, but the cinema is where my sensitivity towards incredible human creations really takes over. For the longest time, I always thought there was something wrong with me. When I'd go to the movies with my friends and there would be a really tragic scene, or a scene with a beautiful music track under it, I'd desperately fight the urge to hold back tears. Because every time I looked over at my friends sitting next to me, the movie would not elicit the same sort of emotional response for them. And so, in an attempt to appear like a passionless, inexpressive man, I hid these parts of me from those who I was most close to. The problem was, this only made my feelings come out through nastier outlets. Since I could not accept my above average sensitivity levels, they would fester in me like an unopened can of soda that had been shaken too much. And when that can was opened, which could have been triggered by an unfortunate event, an insult, or an unexplained bout of anger, it would explode and hurt others instead of being calmly dealt with. This is the unintended consequence of suppressing your sensitivity. If you feel things more than the average human, if you consume the energy of a person, piece of content, or the overall mood of an environment without even trying, and it feels intense, your body and brain will react by going into fight or flight mode if you don't let yourself feel it. You will feel threatened by that energy and see it as your enemy, and as a result, it will do more damage than healing. Most young people, and honestly most people in general for that matter, are convinced that being emotional is bad. After all, in a world where anyone can take advantage of those emotions and make you perceive them in a way that will fuel your self-hate, it seems like it's best to not express them in their fullest form. But the greatest relief and surprise happened to me when I realized what a gift it was to be so highly sensitive. I recently started listening to the audiobook The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, and the way he's able to explain the phenomenon of sensitivity as it relates to creativity really gave me the words I had trouble describing on my own. In one of the earlier chapters, he states,
"The best artists tend to be the ones with the most sensitive antennae to draw in the energy resonating at a particular moment. Many great artists first develop sensitive antennae not to create, but to protect themselves. They have to protect themselves because everything hurts more. They feel everything more deeply."
When I heard him say this, to no surprise, I felt it deeply. It triggered a remembrance of another Rick Rubin clip when he was on a podcast, and he was explaining why artists tend to overdose when they're young. They're sensitive people. There's all this emotion that no one teaches us how to deal with, and it's weird. It's a crazy making process, so people just try to do stuff to numb that pain. Think of the type of lifestyle and artistic expression you could call into being if you stopped trying to numb those excruciatingly visceral emotions. You could turn your ability to see the world through a lens that interprets even the slightest changes in sound, sight, or smell into something that could help everyone else understand the meaning behind their emotions better. And that's partly the reason why I feel so compelled to make these YouTube videos. I feel like there's something in me where I will shrivel up and die if I do not find a way to create and put something out into the universe. And if you feel like that too, it's very likely that you're highly sensitive without even knowing it. If you listen to your emotions completely, you'd also know exactly who is and isn't right for you. Instead of allowing yourself to be surrounded by people who drain your energy because you ignore what your sensitivity is trying to tell you, you'd immediately remove yourself from the situation and not be embarrassed to admit to yourself that this environment and these people people are doing you no good. Well, I'm here to tell you that this type of life is very possible. And trust me, as someone who has iterated through this process many times and continues to iterate through it every time I get a new wave of sensitivity, this experience is not going to be pleasant. But you'll come out of it with a level of self-awareness and creative energy that you've never experienced before. But first, let me tell you about something that has done more for my emotional control and creative ability than almost anything else, and that's actually taking the time to make good meals. The problem is, if you're someone who is super busy like me, finding the time to create high-quality meals for yourself can get really difficult. And that is why I am very happy to announce today's sponsor, Factor. Being a self-proclaimed plant-based chef, I was initially skeptical when Factor sent me their pre-made vegan meals. But now that I've been eating them for the past couple of weeks now, I can confidently say that they have all tasted well above my expectations. They're actually all really fire. I haven't had one bad thing to say about them. Factor's meals are designed by chefs and/or dietitians, so they're not only delicious, but they're very nutritious too. All the meals are fresh and never frozen, and all you gotta do is pop them in the microwave for 2 minutes and they're done. It's taken such a big load off of trying to make 3 meals every single day, and now I can put that time and attention towards other more important areas of my life. There are meal options for whether you do or don't eat meat, so whatever diet you're on, they're gonna have meals for you. So if you want to save yourself loads of time from making delicious meals in the kitchen, and also stop yourself from ordering trash Uber Eats every day, which I know a lot of you guys do, and I wish you wouldn't, then go to the first link in the description, which is factor75.com, and if you use the code Hastings50 at checkout, you're gonna get 50% off your first box, yes, 50%, and free wellness shots for life. So click that first link in the description and use my code Hastings50 for 50% off that first box right this second. Actually, you know what, wait till the video's over because we're gonna get back to the video and there's important stuff coming. When you have no idea why you're starting to get emotional, especially in a culture that tends to teach you to store your emotions where no one can see them, your initial response will be that of avoidance. You'll start telling yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Why is everyone else so much better at handling these things? I need to do something to take my mind off of it. But as unbearable as it might be in that moment, or as unnatural as it might feel, you need to let those emotions express themselves in whatever medium they want to come out. If I don't know why I'm feeling something that hits my senses so deeply, or even when I feel a wave of sensations that seemingly come out of nowhere, the first thing I'll usually do is express them through writing. Because words are the gateway for emotions to start seeing themselves. For example, if I'm with a group of people and someone makes a comment towards my appearance and it really hurts me in a deep way, then I'll try to write about that experience as soon as I possibly can. I don't exactly know where my writing will take me, but I'll just try and explain the experience and how it changed my physical and mental state. This also goes for any piece of content or art that I consume that moves me. That intense reaction from your body is a sign that it wants you to start paying attention to whatever this experience is more, and that it wants you to do something with the information it's providing you through your emotions. So for those types of experiences, I might feel compelled to write a story that's related to those sensations. I remember briefly writing about the way I felt after leaving the theater when Oppenheimer ended. I wrote to myself, I can't stop thinking about how incredible Oppenheimer was. The score, cinematography, and acting made it difficult for me to hold in my emotions throughout. To have the talent to completely immerse an audience within a story and lose their sense of self, only to have them come out of the experience with an entirely new outlook on their day, and perhaps their entire lives. Creating that experience for people is so powerful. It only solidified how much I want to move people through film in the future. Those emotions and feelings were the portal to better understanding the things that would get me the most excited to create. And that is a huge reason why writing them down to better understand them is so important. Now, in other cases, you might need more than that. You might need to let out these sensations in the form of a dance, or a drawing, or a video, or a song, or a poem. Whatever that medium is, if you feel something deeply and it's screaming at you to do something with it, find a positive way to express it that does not harm others. But sometimes a sensation won't actually want you to do anything other than just sit with it. Sometimes emotions just want to be acknowledged until the time comes when they start to dissipate. And this is often the case with emotions like depression. The idea that artists create better art when they're depressed or unhappy is completely false, and I can say this due to my experience as well as the evidence we have to support this. But just sitting with them, not actually doing anything, with them and just feeling them, that's totally okay too. So if you're in one of those periods where you don't feel like doing anything because of your depression or sadness, instead of turning away from it in the form of damaging vices, just acknowledge that they're there, sit with them, and appreciate them. And by doing so, releasing those negative emotions will feel seamless, and you'll be able to get back into the flow of creating without resistance. The way I like to think about how you progress through this process is comparing it to the act of creating a painting without a reference. At the start, you have a lot of resistance to the idea of letting your emotions out more freely. You're scared of what might be found or created, and just like a blank canvas, you don't know what you, or the painting in this example, will look like in the end. But regardless of that, you just start painting. The first few strokes are rough. They aren't forming into anything meaningful or coherent, just like how your emotions look like when you try to start comprehending them. But eventually, the idea in the picture becomes clear. You fully dive into the discomfort and let it show you where it wants to take you. And suddenly, you're no longer staring at some scattered lines. The meaning behind the painting starts to make sense. The more you continue to give yourself permission to find an outlet for your emotions, the less you will feel like they are harming your life. And this is the paradox of emotional intelligence that no fake ultra-masculine dude will tell you. If you try to control your emotions will control you. Because emotions are meant to be expressed, not suppressed. By becoming more emotional when it's appropriate, you gain the emotional maturity and intelligence to become less emotional when it's inappropriate. We all have this gift of being able to feel what life offers us, and some are able to tap into this gift more than others. If that is you, then you have one of the biggest blessings and curses that a human can deal with. But with time, it can become much more of a blessing than a curse if you start to shift to the perspective that your emotions are working for you instead of against you. You have something in you that, if understood and utilized properly, can direct you to create a life full of sensations that bring out the best qualities in you. Emotional reactions are meant to help guide us, not to be pushed down into the crevices of our damaged psyche. All you have to be willing to do is listen and find the outlet. Thank you very much to all my patrons on Patreon. There's exclusive content there, and you can talk to me one-on-one over the phone, link in the description to that. I've also made more videos on establishing emotional control, how you can get in touch with your emotions better. Check this one out. It might be surprising because of the title of it, but just watch it and it will explain it better. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I love you guys. Sincerely. Peace.